Hey BookTube, here is a little something special. I'm Jen and I talk about audiobooks, and recently I got to host my parents for vacation. They came down to where I live, so it's a place people go on vacation, and so they came down and stayed a week. But we had such a great time. I loved it. And my mom asked me about my YouTube channel. Now, my real life and my YouTube life don't cross very often. When they do cross, it's usually because I get to see friends who I know from YouTube. But in this case, my mom was curious, and I said, okay, well, and I showed her a little, a couple of little clips from a couple of videos where I was talking about things, and she said, and I said, you know what, I would love to interview you. And she said, really? My mom is not comfortable up in front of people at all. So I knew she had some hesitation, but she agreed. And so I put together a list of questions and just had a wonderful conversation with her. So I thought I would share that with you. So here's me and my mom talking about reading. What are some of your first memories of learning to read?
Well, learning to read and the stuff that I read are two different times in my childhood. I don't remember a whole lot about the very first thing that I learned. I remember practicing handwriting, which some of the letters were very difficult to do. Reading is, I think I just took to it, and so I don't actually remember. It wasn't a aha moment, but I know I was good at it, and I liked to do it. And I felt really smart because I was a good reader. And so the things that I first loved to read or liked to read, oh gosh, fairy tales.
You always say that, fairy tales. Like what ones?
Oh, Cinderella, Rapunzel, Sleeping Beauty, the famous ones. And one of my best memories is going to the Greene County Library, which was a separate building from where we went to school. And I had a library card, and the librarian, I admired her so much because she was an adult with long dark hair, glasses, and she could hold a pen and a pencil at the same time and do this and mark your library card, mark the date it was due back,
Wow.
and whatever other recording that she had to do. Then I would go into the room that was for the grade levels, and I don't remember exactly, but I was probably third or fourth grade. But I could read from the 6th grade section. I mean, prodigy.
You were just all that.
I was all that. In my own mind, I was. But I did read books that were above my grade level. And I enjoyed learning new words. I enjoyed reading a book that had words I hadn't come across before and sound them out.
This explains your love for crossword puzzles now.
Could be.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite book of all time?
I would have to say the all-time favorite book in my whole life is the Bible, the Christian Bible. It is so rich. The language is beautiful. It teaches me. It comforts me. It encourages me. And I can always go back, and no matter how many times you read a chapter or verses in a chapter, it will say something new to you. Because that's God talking, and He knows everything.
That's right. Yes. And you've said before that your favorite book of the Bible is Ecclesiastes, which is kind of dead dead center of the whole Bible. Yeah.
I enjoyed studying that book. At that time, I was leading a Bible class on Wednesday night at our church. And so it was very interactive because I felt that the ladies in the class were smarter than me about the Bible. And, no, they were. Anyway, so we explored that book, and afterward, someone said, I just loved doing that because it was new to all of us. The point of the book is written by Solomon, and he was at the later years of his life. He'd amassed fortunes beyond belief, been honored. He was a wise man who'd made a lot of mistakes in his life. And he was talking both to God and himself about how everything he had done, everything he had gained, didn't matter. It was all chasing after the wind. It was meaningless. And so at the very end of the book, he says, I wish I had it to read, but he says, now all has been said, and the conclusion of the matter is this: love God, obey his commandments, because this is the whole duty of man. And I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah.
Because it really speaks to the idea that God is truly unknowable in full. Yeah, because he's God.
Yeah.
Do you remember this book?
Absolutely. This is Little Women by
Yes.
Louisa May Alcott. Famous, famous book. I remember, I think I read this to you, or did you read it and we shared it?
No, I was in the first grade, and you would read it to me every night before bed.
Okay.
I think a whole chapter, actually.
I know that you were eager for the next chapter.
Oh, yeah.
Every time.
Oh, yeah.
There was one point in the story, probably when little Beth died, and you cried.
Yeah, spoiler alert. Yeah. How many movies have been made out of this book?
Yes, several.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't even know why I chose this book.
Yeah,
But
why did you choose that
I
book?
don't know, except that I thought you'd enjoy it.
Huh. Did you get it from the library?
Probably, but I don't remember.
Yeah, we didn't have a copy of it around, as I recall. Yeah.
But yeah, we enjoyed that.
Yeah, we did. I loved it. And my favorite memory about this is that at the end of one of the chapters, you said something a certain way, probably in a certain accent, and I said, ooh, say that again. And I made you repeat it, I don't know, 4 or 5 times, and you just kept saying it.
And I don't remember
Yeah.
it.
And this is important to me because it is the Penguin Threads edition, and you taught me to sew. Even though this is embroidery, it's still sewing on some level, you know. So beautiful edition of Little Women. Okay, you always gave me money for the scholastic books that Miss Darnstedt would order, and they would come in every Friday, and we'd get a little, like a little newsletter, and it had all these books in it. Now, what I remember is that we didn't have tons of extra money. We were very comfortable, but we didn't have tons of extra money. And yet, I always was able to buy, and not just one, but like 2 or 3 books at a time. Now, granted, these were the days when books were 65 cents, you know,
Yes.
whatever.
Not
But I
much.
always got to buy some books. And I think that's a pretty good trick. How'd you make that happen? Why did you make that happen?
Well, the why is because it was good. It was a good thing that you wanted to read. Had something to do with you feeling like you were achieving something or getting something special. And it was just a little money out of the groceries.
Yeah.
So we worked it out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I appreciated it. I still have some of those books. Actually, they're back behind me.
Of course you do.
Yeah.
You should see her collection.
Yeah. Yeah. You actually asked, you said, why do I collect books? Yeah, because that's not important to you, is it? I mean, this story is much more important than the actual physical book.
Right. And I don't often reread a book, so why save it?
Because.
And I asked you that one
Mm-hmm.
time, and you said it's a collection like any other collection.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yes.
have a few bridal dolls.
Mm-hmm.
That's my collection.
Right.
But you have books.
I do. Indeed, I do. Everywhere. What has kept you reading through the years? Because I know you've gotten busy and life has been crazy and
What has kept me reading? I love to read. That's the simple answer. I just when I get into a story, I read novels mostly. And when I get into that novel, I am there. I am at one time I was in a race riot and the phone rang and I didn't know what to do. Lately, I have been in Nicaragua in a coffee plantation, which was very educational.
yeah, I gave her that book.
It's just the it's recreational for me.
Like escape a little bit.
It's other worlds, visiting a world that's not normal to me.
Mm-hmm.
I have liked reading pioneer stories, thinking how people had to struggle just to live every day.
Oh yeah.
I have liked spy novels.
Really?
Oh,
I didn't
Robert
know that.
Ludlum. Oh,
I
yeah.
did not.
Jason Bourne.
Did not know this. I knew you liked the movies, but I didn't realize you're like, well, duh. How did I not know that you liked the book?
um,
So you pretty much have a very broad palette when it comes to the genres that you like to read.
I guess so.
Yeah.
A lot of it has to do with the jacket on the book.
The cover?
Yes.
Yeah.
The title of the novel and the way the jacket is attractive to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of
So-
course, the subject matter. I always read the leaf that'll tell a synopsis of the story and
Yeah.
choose it that way.
So you are a cover snob like the rest of us. I mean, you do
Of
judge a
course.
book by its cover. Yeah. Well, that's good to know. Well, along those lines, you're not a fan of ebooks. You have an iPad that you can read things on. And also, don't you have another, like a tablet or something that you can read on?
No, I have just the iPad, but I like to hold a book in my hand. Sometimes I'll be reading and the author, the character, will refer back to something that happened previously or some character that was introduced and then got kind of ignored for a little while and then they're mentioned again.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to go back and find the page where that story started. And I would much rather do that with pages than doing this,
Yeah.
you know.
Very old school.
Yes.
Yeah.
Proud of it.
You are a huge fan of Jan Karon books, aren't
yes,
you?
yes.
Yes.
Father Tim, love all those characters. I read all of them, and that's been 4 or 5 years now since I've finished the last one.
Well, it hasn't been that long because I bought you the one
Yeah,
year before
it's-
last for Christmas.
I have
think.
saved those.
Yeah.
Well, not all of them. I did donate them to our church library, and I don't know if I got them back or if somebody took them home. But the characters, there are no bad people. It's all just these adorable people who interact, and they made me laugh, and they made me worry about them. Made me wonder what was going to happen next.
So kept you
Absolutely.
reading. Yeah.
Absolutely. I loved them. Everyone.
Good. So, okay, I was going to ask you what your favorite genre is, but do you have a favorite? I mean, like we said, you have such a broad palette. When it comes.
No, not really.
No. Is there anything you don't like to read?
Violence, graphic sex, Outlander.
And yet, you were the one that told me to read
I
Outlander.
know, guilty.
And we've both read all the books.
Yes,
Yes.
I did read all the books because the story is really engrossing.
Yeah.
But some of the stuff, after I could see where this was going, I'd just kind of, skim over that.
Yeah, I do that now
Yeah.
with romance. Yeah. And you're not a fan of the TV show either, are you?
Well, the same thing. I started watching it, but it was mostly the violence. Was when Blackjack was whipping Jayme.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's very
oh,
graphic.
It's horrid. Horrid.
Well, and didn't you have an issue with them? And so did I, actually, until I got used to it. But they don't, the characters, the people they cast, the actors, they don't look like. I remember having that conversation with you. Why doesn't Jamie's not tall enough? His hair's not red enough. His eyes aren't blue enough,
Yeah.
And why is she so tall? She's supposed to be short.
Yeah, she's supposed to look like a little round bird.
Yeah.
And this actress is tall and slender and, very modern model like thin.
Yeah.
I had a problem with that.
Yeah.
But I may start watching it again. I don't know.
It's good. Oh my gosh, it's so good. It's so good. Well, okay, if you had one piece of advice for people who don't read, for all those people who say, "Oh, I don't read. No, I can't get into books." What would you tell them?
You're missing it. That's all.
Yep.
People who don't like to read just don't like to they don't like to be that still, or they can't concentrate long enough to get into a story. So there's not much use in saying you should do this, but you miss a lot if you don't read. If you don't like to read books, you're missing something in your life.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. And interesting, when I think about my brother, I have a younger brother. I have two younger brothers and a younger sister. And when I think about the oldest of the two younger brothers, I gave you The Martian by Andy Weir and said, "Oh, you've got to read this." And so you did, but you passed it on to him. Now, this is a guy that does not read. I mean, if you knew him, you'd say, "Oh, no, no, no. This is not a person who reads."
He did like to read.
He loved that book, I know.
Well, when he was in school,
Really?
I remember, yes, you'd have
I
to
did not
ask
know
him,
this.
but I remember a few times that he liked reading this or that book.
Huh.
Not
Wow.
too often, and when he got to be a teenager, of course, all that went out the window.
Yeah.
But yeah, he really enjoyed The Martian.
Yeah. I think he even passed it along to his wife. She liked it too.
Yes.
When I got it back, it was very worn. Like, it had been read a lot of times, which, to be honest, isn't that the best way a book should come back to you? I mean,
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it really is.
And having a circle of friends that share books, and I have done that now with my senior center friends, my older friends. We enjoy a book, and we don't plan it, but we just take it to the activity, and we say, "I've been reading this book, you might enjoy it." And so they let me know how they enjoyed it, and then they would say, "Do you mind if I loan it to her?" And then it does come back.
Yeah.
But that, it's good to share.
That makes me think of A Man Called Uva by Frederick Bachman.
Loved it.
So funny, because I gave you the book and you said, "I don't like this book. I don't like this character. He's too grumpy." And I said, "Oh, Mom, you gotta just hang in there with it." And so you picked it up again, and you were a goner.
Yeah.
And then you talked to the lady at the senior center
Yes.
that you play bridge with.
Yes.
Yes.
And a couple of them had read it, and one of them said, "Oh, I think it's a movie."
Oh, that's
So
right.
I went to the library that day, and they had it in stock, and I took it home. Then when I went back the next time, I said, "I got the movie," and she said, "You did?"
Was it good?
Yes, yes. It's never
As good as
book.
the book. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Well
it was
done.
good.
I can tell you that the audiobook was amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Seeing the man in his blue suit trying to hang himself.
And the
Visual.
thing falling out of this. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and it was subtitled too, wasn't it? Probably, because Frederick Bachman, I think he's Swedish.
I believe A Man Called Uve.
Yeah.
I don't remember a subtitle, but there may be one.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, anyway. Well, thank you for teaching me to read, because I love it. I mean, clearly, you know, it is one of the passions of my life. And
Well, it keeps us together, that and the sewing.
yeah, poor Dad. Dad's always great. He'll leave the room. You guys are talking about books again, aren't you? Yes. Oh, Mom, I read this amazing book. Yeah. So, anyway, thank you for that.
Well, thank you.
Thank you
for
for
reading.
teaching me to love to read. Yeah. So that was my wonderful mom who taught me to read, whom I love desperately. I know everybody thinks they got the best mom, but I really did. I'm sorry for the rest of you, but I got the best one. I'm so grateful to have her as my mom, and I'm so grateful she taught me to read, and I just love my mom. I really love my mom. So I'm glad I got to share her with you. So that's it for now for me, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.